Sarah is 19 years old. She is studying psychology at a university that smells like coffee and concrete. Her days start with the sound of her alarm, but she never just silences it. She grabs her phone, scrolls, taps, checks, without thinking. It is automatic. Before she even gets out of bed, she is already deep into a dozen apps. By the time she finishes brushing her teeth, she has checked her phone 7 times. She does not know this, she never counted, but someone else did. Researchers once ran a study. They followed people like Sarah and tracked how often they touched their phones, not how many times they used them, just how many times they tapped, swiped, unlocked. The average was 2,617 times every single day. That number sounds unreal. It feels like it must be wrong. But for anyone with a smartphone, it's not just possible, it's normal. Phones were not always like this. There was a time, not too long ago, when phones were tools. You picked them up to make a call or to check something important. Then you put them down, you moved on, the phone stayed quiet. It waited until you needed it again. Something changed. No one can point to one moment. But it was somewhere between the rise of social media and the first time you got a push notification that felt urgent. You know the one, the red bubble, the vibration in your pocket, the little ding, the screen lighting up, even though no one said your name. That was the shift. Phones stopped being tools. They became something else, something more alive, more personal, more demanding. Sarah doesn't notice the way her hand moves toward her phone during class, or the way she unlocks it mid-sentence when talking to friends. She tells herself she is just checking the time, but her fingers know the truth. They have their own rhythm now. It is not just Sarah. It is all of us. We have built a world where phones are not just machines. They are mirrors. They reflect who we are or who we want to be. But here is the part that many people do not know. This was not an accident. It was built this way, designed this way from the very beginning. There are people who study what makes our brains say yes. Scientists who look at why we do what we do, even when we do not want to. And long before smartphones, these scientists were studying something else. Slot machines. Those blinking, noisy machines in casinos. They work on the same principle that now drives most apps. They give you small, unpredictable rewards. Sometimes you win, sometimes you do not. But the maybe is what keeps you there. The maybe is powerful. App makers saw that, and they borrowed. They added likes, hearts, shares, notifications. Things that seem small but matter more than we admit. Things that turn your phone into a tiny reward machine. And your brain, once it gets used to those hits, does not want to stop. That is why it feels like your phone is calling your name, even when it is silent. That is why Sarah reaches for it. Before she even knows what she is doing, she's not weak. She is not addicted in the way people think about addiction. She is caught in something deeper, something more normal, something more hidden. It is a habit, but not just any habit. It is a loop. Trigger, action, reward, investment. You hear a ping, you tap, you get a message or a like. You feel something. You tap again and again. The loop tightens. Your brain starts to expect it and then crave it. The phone becomes a kind of comfort, a safety blanket, a way to avoid boredom or loneliness or uncertainty. It is there for you all the time, always offering something new, always ready. But what it gives is not always what you need. Sarah sometimes feels more anxious after using her phone. She notices her thoughts jumping around more. She cannot read for long without wanting to check something. Her focus breaks easily. Her sleep is worse, but she cannot stop. Because even if the phone makes things worse sometimes, it also makes her feel connected, important, seen. That is the trick. The phone gives just enough to keep you from letting go. Just enough to make you believe you are in control. But are you? When we use our phones hundreds or thousands of times each day, we are not always choosing. We are reacting. And the people who built these apps know that. They test every color, every sound, every button. They want to find the version that keeps you there the longest. It is called engagement, and to them, more is always better. But what about you? What are you getting out of it? That question is hard to answer, because it is not just about time. It is about attention, energy, focus, things that are limited, things that you cannot get back once they are gone. Sarah is learning this slowly. She has started to track her screen time. She sees the hours add up. She feels something shift inside her. Not guilt, not anger, just curiosity. She starts asking questions. When did my phone become so important? Why do I feel strange when I leave it in another room? What would my day look like without it? These are not easy questions. They are uncomfortable. But they matter. Because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Your phone is not just a device. It is a doorway, a magnet, a mirror, a hook. Some apps are built to help, but many are built to hold you, to pull you in and not let go. They use what we know about the brain, about attention, about reward, and they use it to design experiences that are not just useful, but irresistible. That is the mystery, not why we use our phones, but why we cannot stop, and what it means for how we live, for Sarah, for you, for all of us. It is not too late to notice, to ask, to pause. The phone may never fully leave your hand, but maybe, just maybe, it does not have to control it. Inside your brain, there is something small but powerful. It is not loud, it does not shout, but it quietly shapes almost every choice you make. Every time you reach for your phone, every time you scroll just one more time, every time you feel pulled toward something, even when you do not really want it. This small force is a chemical. Its name is dopamine. Dopamine is not the chemical of pleasure, though many people think it is. It is the chemical of wanting. Wanting more, craving, anticipating. It is the reason why desire feels so sharp and urgent. It is not about what feels good. It is about what makes you chase what feels good. Imagine a time before phones, before cities, before books, a time when humans lived in forests and deserts. Food was hard to find, so was safety. Back then, your brain needed a system to help you survive. It needed a way to say, yes, do that again. That helped you last time. That system was dopamine. When you found sweet fruit on a tree, your brain gave you a little dopamine. Not because the fruit tasted good, but because the fruit kept you alive. Your brain remembered. It said, that was important. Go find more. The same thing happened when you made a fire, or when you found a place to rest, or when you stayed close to people who cared for you. Over time, your brain built a kind of map, a reward map, and dopamine was the ink it used to draw the lines. This is good, that is worth chasing. Do that again. Even now, thousands of years later, your brain still uses the same map. But the world has changed. Today, the things that trigger dopamine are not always tied to survival. They are tied to screens, to apps, to games, to notifications. And they are everywhere. You get a text. Your brain says, maybe this is important. Maybe it is love. Maybe it is danger. Your heart jumps. You feel the need to check. That need is dopamine. You open the message. You read it. The feeling fades, but the memory stays. Your brain says that felt good. Let us do it again. The same thing happens when you see a like on your post, or a new comment, or a message bubble that means someone is typing. All of these small signals light up the reward system in your brain, not because they are meaningful, but because they are unexpected. That is the key. Dopamine is not just about rewards. It is about rewards you cannot predict. This is why getting a text can feel like winning a small prize. You do not know when it will happen or what it will say. The maybe is what makes your brain pay attention. The maybe is what keeps you coming back. Scientists know this. Casinos know it too. Years ago, researchers studied how people behave when rewards come at random. They used rats at first, then monkeys, then people. They found the same thing every time. If you give a reward, every time, interest fades. But if you give it sometimes and not others, the desire grows. It grows even when the reward gets smaller. Even when it stops being useful. Slot machines use this trick. So do many apps. The phone buzzes. The brain reacts. Maybe it is something good. Maybe it is nothing, but you check anyway, and each time you check, you feed the loop. This loop is simple. It starts with a trigger, a sound, a flash, a thought. Then comes the action. You reach for your phone, then the reward, a message, a like, a scroll. Then your brain stores the pattern. It says this is a good loop, is a good. Remember this. Over time, the loop becomes automatic. You do not think about it, you just do it. Over and over, even when you are not sure why. That is how habits form. Your brain takes shortcuts. It does not want to work too hard. If it finds something that feels good and is easy to do, it locks it in. You keep doing it, even when it starts to feel empty. This is not weakness. This is how your brain is wired. In the past, these habits kept us safe. They helped us find food, build shelter, stay connected, but now they are being used in ways your brain did not evolve to handle. Your brain cannot tell the difference between a real reward and a fake one. It reacts the same way to a message as it once did to finding water in the wild. It lights up with excitement. It says, yes, this matters, but most of the time it doesn't. You do not need to check your phone again. You just feel like you do. That feeling is not random. It was designed. Many app makers study brain science. They know about dopamine. They know about the reward system. They know how to make you want things without realizing why. They do not need to make something truly useful. They only need to make something feel like it might be useful. That is enough to hook the brain. And once your reward system is trained, it is hard to unlearn, even when you try to stop, even when you silence the phone, even when you turn off the notifications. Your brain still remembers. It waits for the buzz. It feels the absence, and that absence feels uncomfortable. This is the same feeling people have when they try to quit sugar, or alcohol, or gambling. Not the physical part, the mental part, the itch, the pull. It is not addiction in the medical sense, but it is close enough to cause real harm. You feel more distracted, you feel more tired. Your mind wanders. You start things but do not finish them. You feel restless, your sleep gets worse, your mood shifts, and you do not know why. The reason is simple. Your reward system is overloaded. Your brain was not made for this many signals, this much stimulation, this many things shouting, look at me. It is like eating sugar for every meal. At first it feels good, then it makes you sick. But here is the good news. Your brain can change. It is always changing. That is the beauty of it. It is not fixed. It can relearn. It can rebuild. The first step is noticing the loop. noticing the triggers, the habits, the urges. The second step is creating space, not to punish yourself, but to let your brain breathe, to remember what real rewards feel like: a walk, a talk, a book, a laugh, a moment of peace. These things matter. They light up your reward system too, but in a softer way, a more lasting way. Dopamine is not your enemy. It is part of you. It is trying to help. It just needs better directions. So when you reach for your phone next time, pause. Ask yourself why, not with guilt, just with curiosity. Is this a habit or a choice? Is this desire or just a loop? That question alone can begin to shift things. Sarah is starting to learn that. She still checks her phone, but now she also checks in with herself. She asks, is this what I need right now? Sometimes the answer is yes. Often the answer is no. That small moment of awareness is where change begins. Your brain is powerful, and it is listening. What you tell it now shapes what it wants next. It started in a lab, quiet, simple. A place where someone watched a rat press a lever. Over and over. The rat wasn't thinking, it wasn't planning. It just knew one thing: press the lever, get a treat. That was the beginning, not the beginning of addiction. Not the beginning of phones or apps or flashing screens, but the beginning of understanding, of asking the question that changed everything. Why do we do what we do? That question pulled in scientists, curious people, people who watched, measured, wrote things down. They wanted to know how habits form, not just in rats, but in people, in all of us. One of the first scientists to study this was B.F. Skinner. Back in the 1930s, he put animals in boxes. Press the button, get food. Don't press it, nothing happens. He noticed something. The animals learned fast, but not just when they got food every time. They learned fastest when they'd got food some of the time, just enough to keep them guessing. Skinner called this variable reinforcement, and it became one of the most important ideas in the science of behavior. You do not need to reward someone every time. You just need to reward them sometimes, at random. That keeps them coming back. Years later, in the modern world, other scientists picked up where Skinner left off. They studied humans. They looked at habits, daily routines, the small things we do without thinking. One of them was a journalist named Charles Duhigg. He wasn't a scientist, but he did something important. He told the world about the habit loop. He wrote about it in his book, The Power of Habit. He explained the pattern that lives inside every habit. First, a cue, something that triggers the action, then the routine, the behavior itself, then the reward, the feeling that tells your brain to remember. Cue, routine, reward. That is the loop. You wake up and feel groggy. That's the cue. You make coffee. That's the routine. You feel awake. That's the reward. Do it once, and it feels good. Do it many times, and it becomes automatic. Your brain stores it. And the next time you feel that cue, you act without thinking. That is how habits are born. In the lab, this loop was tested again and again. Scientists watched it unfold. They saw how the brain lit up in the same spots every time a habit played out. They found a part of the brain called the basal ganglia. It runs deep. It handles patterns, routines, muscle memory. What surprised them was this. Once a habit forms, the brain stops working as hard. It saves energy. It trusts the loop. It lets the behavior run on autopilot. That discovery explained why habits are so hard to break. They become part of the brain's wiring. Now pause that story. Let's go somewhere else. Las Vegas. The lights are bright. The noise is constant. Machines blink. People press buttons. No clocks, no windows, just one thing: Play again. This is not a mistake, it's design. Smart, calculated design. For over 50 years, the casino industry has studied addiction, not to cure it, but to create it. They hired psychologists, behavior experts, scientists who knew about the habit loop. They asked one question: how do we keep people playing? The answer was simple: use variable rewards. Make the player feel like the next spin might be the big one. Don't let them stop and think. Remove friction, speed things up, make the lights and sounds feel like celebration. Even when the player loses, it worked. Slot machines became the most profitable part of any casino. People stayed for hours, days even, lost track of time, lost money, but they couldn't walk away. Now fast forward. A new industry is rising, not casinos, but tech, social media, apps, games on phones. And the people building these products are not guessing. They're learning, borrowing, taking what the casino world already knows and using it for something new. They do not call it addiction, they call it engagement. But it's the same science. Tech companies hire behavior experts, designers who understand how the brain works. People like Nir Eyal, who wrote about the hook model. He explained how digital products form habits. His model is based on the same habit loop: trigger, action, reward, investment. You hear a ding, that's the trigger. You open the app, that's the action. You see a like or message, that's the reward. You comment back or post something new, that's the investment. And the cycle begins again. These systems were not built to help you pause. They were built to pull you back in. App makers run experiments. 1,000 versions of the same button. 100 shades of red for a notification. They measure what keeps you longer. What makes you tap more? What makes you forget the time? They track your every move, where you pause, what you watch, what you ignore. They build a profile of your behavior, not to understand you, but to hold your attention, because attention is money. The longer you stay, the more ads you see. The more ads you see, the more money they make. It is simple, and it is powerful, and it goes back to those first experiments in the lab: the rat, the lever, the treat. It is the same pattern, just dressed in modern clothes. This is not a story about evil companies. It is a story about how human behavior can be shaped, about how systems can learn to control us before we even know what is happening. It's about how Sarah, the college student, checks her phone 200 times a day and does not know why. It's about the boy who wakes up in the middle of the night to check his messages and feels tired all day. It's about the worker who cannot finish a task because they keep switching apps, searching for that little hit of reward. None of these people are broken. Their brains are working exactly as they were designed to. It's the world around them that changed, and the people who built that world knew exactly what they were doing. They knew that your brain loves patterns, that it hates uncertainty, but also cannot resist it, that once a loop starts, it is hard to stop. And they used that knowledge, they turned it into features, into feeds, into endless scroll, into streaks, into likes. They took science meant for healing and used it for profit. But here is the other part of the story. Some of those same people began to speak out: former employees, designers, engineers. People who helped build these tools and then saw the harm they caused. People who said, "We went too far. We didn't know how powerful this would be." They became whistleblowers. They shared what they knew: internal documents, memos, plans, evidence that companies understood the effects but chose growth anyway. They showed the moment it all changed. The moment apps became less about serving people and more about keeping them, holding them, hooking them. And that is where we are now. Living in a world shaped by people who figured out how habits form, who learned what makes our brains light up, who built tools that slip into our lives so quietly. We barely notice them, but we can notice. That is the beginning of change, to see the loop, to name the pattern, to understand what pulls us in, and to remember that the brain, while deeply shaped by habit, can also be reshaped. What was learned can be unlearned. What was built to hold us can be reused to help us. But only if we start asking the right questions. Only if we stop and see the story behind the screen. It always starts the same way. You are standing in line, you are sitting on the couch, you are walking to class. Nothing is really happening, but your hand moves anyway. It reaches into your pocket, it grabs your phone, and before you even know it, the screen is lit up. You do not think about it, you just do it. That moment is not random. It is part of something bigger, a system, a loop, a model, one that has been studied, tested, and used by some of the biggest tech companies in the world. It is called the hook model. It sounds simple, just 4 steps, but inside those 4 steps is a design so clever that it has changed the way people live, the way they think, the way they feel. The hook model was made popular by Nir Eyal, a former consultant in tech. He noticed something. Some apps became part of your daily routine, not because they were useful, but because they knew how to keep you coming back. They had found the secret to habit. The first step in the model is the trigger. This is the thing that starts everything. A feeling, a notification, a sound, a little red bubble. Sometimes the trigger comes from the outside. Your phone buzzes, you see a badge, you hear a ping. Other times the trigger comes from the inside. You feel bored or anxious or lonely. And your brain whispers, check your phone. That is the power of a trigger. It becomes automatic. You do not stop to ask yourself why. You just react. Step 2 is the action. This is what you do after the trigger. It is always something simple, something that takes almost no effort. Open the app, swipe down, tap once. The easier the action, the more likely you are to do it. This is why apps are designed to move fast. No waiting, no thinking, just instant response. You pull down to refresh your feed, you tap a story, you scroll through videos. Each of these tiny actions feels harmless, but together they form a habit, a path your brain starts to follow without question. Step 3 is the reward. This is where things get interesting. The reward is not always the same. It changes. It surprises you. Sometimes you get a new message. Sometimes you get 10 likes. Sometimes you get nothing. And that is the secret. Your brain does not like predictable rewards. It likes mystery. It likes the maybe. This is the same trick slot machines use. Pull the lever. Maybe you win, maybe you don't. But that chance is enough to keep you playing apps. Use the same idea. You never know what you will see when you open TikTok. The videos keep coming. Some make you laugh, some make you feel seen, some make you angry, but each one is a surprise. Instagram works the same way. You post a photo, then you check again and again. Are there more likes, more comments? You keep checking, even when you know it doesn't matter that much. The reward is not just the content, it is the emotion. The feeling of being noticed, of being connected, of not missing out, and that feeling is powerful. The 4th step is investment. This is the part where you put something of yourself into the app. You upload a photo, you leave a comment, you send a message, you build a profile, you follow friends, and each time you do, you become a little more attached. This step is important. It makes you care. It makes you want to come back. You have built something. You have added to it. You do not want to lose it. This is why apps ask you to create accounts, to save favorites, to share content. Once you have done those things, the app becomes more than just a tool. It becomes yours. And when something feels like yours, you protect it. You return to it. You check it even when you do not need to. That is the full loop. Trigger, action, reward, investment, and then it starts again. Each time you go through it, the loop grows stronger. Your brain starts to expect the reward. You feel a little itch when it does not come. You feel relief when it does. This is how apps turn into habits. Let's look at a few examples. Instagram begins with a trigger, a buzz, a badge, a quick thought. You open the app. That is the action. You see new posts. That is the reward. You like a photo. You leave a comment. You post a story. That is investment. Now the app is part of you. TikTok follows the same pattern. You are bored. That is the internal trigger. You open the app, swipe once, a video plays. That is the reward. You heart the video. You follow the creator. You maybe even post something yourself. That is the hook. Snapchat takes it even further. The trigger is a streak, a number, a red square. You open it, send something back. You get a response, maybe funny, maybe just a face. But it counts. The number goes up. The streak lives on. That is the reward. And because the streak is your creation, it becomes the investment too. You do not want to break it. Even if you are tired, even if you are busy, even if it does not feel fun anymore. That is the trick. When apps use the hook model well, they no longer need to convince you. They no longer need to sell you something. You keep coming back on your own because it feels natural, but it is not. It was designed. The hook model is not evil. It is not a secret weapon, but it is powerful. And when used without care, it can trap people, especially young people, especially those who are still learning how to listen to their own minds. That is why it matters to understand it, because when you see the loop, you have a chance to step out of it. You can still use the app, still enjoy the features, but now you are choosing, not reacting. You are aware. And awareness is where real control begins. Sarah is learning this. She still checks Instagram, still scrolls TikTok, but now when she feels the urge, she pauses. She asks herself, what triggered this? What am I looking for? Sometimes the answer is boredom, sometimes it is stress, sometimes it is nothing at all. And in those moments, she closes the app. She goes outside. She calls a friend, she draws, she lets her brain rest. The hook model still exists. It still works, but now she can see it. And that makes all the difference. It begins quietly. You wake up. You reach for your phone. Before your feet touch the floor, you're already checking. A message, a like, a video, a headline. Something new. Something small. But it feels like it matters. You do not think much of it. Everyone does it. It is just part of the day. But deep inside your brain, something is changing, and that change is not as harmless as it seems. Scientists have been studying this. They wanted to know what happens when we use apps too much. Not just in behavior, but in the brain itself. In the chemistry, in the wiring, in the deep parts we do not control. What they found surprised even them. Inside your brain is a chemical called dopamine. It is not the chemical of happiness like many people think. It is the chemical of wanting, of motivation, of craving. It is what pushes you to act, to chase things, to try. It is what gives you the feeling that something exciting is about to happen. Dopamine works like a messenger. When something good is coming, your brain releases it. That little burst is what makes your heart race, your eyes focus, your hand reach out. It is not the reward itself. It is the feeling just before it. And that feeling is powerful. It is also delicate. Your brain was designed to release dopamine in small, healthy amounts. A delicious meal, a long walk, a good conversation, finishing a task. These used to be the things that gave your brain those tiny waves of joy. But then came the apps. They are different. They are built to give you dopamine again and again. Quickly, unpredictably, with no effort, every time you refresh a feed, every time you see a new message, every time a video makes you laugh. Your brain gives you more dopamine, not because it wants to, but because it has been trained to. And the more you use these apps, the more your brain adjusts. It starts to expect that level of stimulation, that pace, that pattern. And when it does not get it, something strange happens. You feel low, empty, restless, bored. This is the start of what researchers now call the dopamine hijack. Over time, your brain becomes less sensitive to natural rewards. It stops reacting to the little things, the soft things, the quiet things. It needs bigger hits, faster hits, more hits. This is called tolerance. It works the same way with drugs. A little is enough at first, but later your body needs more just to feel the same. Studies have shown that people who use social media heavily often have lower levels of dopamine receptors in important parts of the brain. That means their brains are actually changing. They are becoming less responsive, less balanced. This was once seen only in people struggling with drug addiction. Now it is showing up in people who check their phones hundreds of times a day. They are not chasing a high, they are trying to avoid the low. The symptoms can feel small at first. Trouble focusing, feeling tired. A short fuse, but they grow. Sleep gets worse. Mood goes up and down. Memory gets foggy. The feeling of joy fades. Even during things that used to feel good. This is not just distraction. This is withdrawal. People laugh when you say you feel weird without your phone. They call it silly. But the science says it is real. When your brain gets used to constant dopamine, taking it away feels like loss. And just like with substances, that loss can cause anxiety, irritability, even physical tension. You may try to cut back, to take breaks, but the urge always returns. You reach for your phone without thinking. Your brain tells you it will help, but it does not. It only gives you a moment of relief. Then the cycle starts again. You do not feel more connected. You feel more stuck. This pattern is not about weakness. It is about wiring. Your brain was never built to handle this kind of flood. It was built for a world of long walks and slow changes, of effort and reward, of face and voice and touch. Now it lives in a world of noise, of scrolls and swipes, of taps that never end. A case study from a major university followed students over several months. The ones who spent the most time on social apps also showed the biggest drops in attention span and reported the most trouble sleeping. Their brains were working harder but focusing less. The researchers scanned their brains and saw something deeper. The reward system had started to shift. The brain was responding more to digital triggers than to real-life ones. It was chasing dopamine in all the wrong places. Some of these students tried digital detox programs. For a few days, they stayed off all non-essential apps. The first 24 hours were hard. They felt jittery, distracted, like something was missing. But after a few days, things began to change. They started to notice time again. They slept better, thought clearer, felt calmer. Their brains were still wired for reward, but the signals were changing. They were resetting. It was not easy, but it was possible. The same thing can happen for anyone, but only if you understand what is happening inside you. This is not about deleting all your apps. It is about being aware, knowing that when you reach for your phone 100 times a day, it is not just habit. It is chemistry. It is training. It is your brain chasing something it thinks it needs, but you can teach it something new. You can slow down. You can choose boredom sometimes. You can wait. And in those small moments, your brain begins to heal. It starts to remember how to feel joy from simple things, from real things, from effort and rest and touch. The dopamine hijack is not forever, but it is real, and it explains why so many people feel tired even when they have not done much, why joy feels shallow, why rest never feels like enough. Your brain is not broken. It is trying to protect you, but it needs your help. It needs you to pause, to breathe, to feel. Because underneath all the alerts and likes and noise, your brain still remembers what real reward feels like, and it wants to go back. There is a reason you cannot stop scrolling. It feels small at first. You open an app, you check a few posts, then a few more, then suddenly it is dark outside. Your hand is still moving, your thumb is still swiping. You do not even remember how long you have been there. You say, just one more. But there is no one more because the feed never ends. This is not an accident. This is the infinite scroll. It is one of the most powerful and dangerous inventions in the digital world. Not because it looks like much, but because it works so well, too well. The idea is simple. Take away the bottom of the page. Make content load forever. Keep feeding the brain something new. Something now. Something next. The man who helped invent it was Asa Raskin. He worked in tech. He wanted to make browsing easier. He wanted people to stay engaged. He did not mean to create something addictive, but that is exactly what happened. And when he saw what it had become, he said he regretted it. Because once the scroll became endless, it became hard to escape. The brain was not made for this. Long ago, when humans searched for food or answers, they followed paths with endings. A trail would lead to a fruit tree. A river would lead to water. Even books had pages. When you reached the end, you stopped. You knew it was time to rest. That stopping point mattered. It gave the brain closure. A signal to move on, to shift gears, to breathe. But infinite scroll broke that signal. It removed the end. It removed the pause. Now your brain keeps asking what is next. What if the next post is the good one? What if the next video makes you laugh? What if the next answer is the one you need? You never know. So you never stop. This taps into something deep inside us, a drive to complete things, to finish the story, to get to the end. Psychologists call it completion bias. The brain wants to complete patterns. It wants to tie the knot. It wants to say, done, finished. But apps have found a way to block that feeling. They break the loop on purpose. When you scroll, the new content slides in gently. There is no sharp break, no hard stop, no loading screen, just a smooth, endless motion. This tricks your mind into thinking you have not reached the end, because there is no end. Without an ending, your brain keeps reaching, keeps hoping, and with every swipe it gets a little hit of dopamine, a little thrill, a little maybe. You might see something funny or shocking or beautiful or sad. It does not matter. It is new. It is now. That variety keeps your brain guessing, and guessing is what drives the loop. Studies have shown that people scroll hundreds of times each day. On some platforms, the number can go as high as 300 scrolls in 24 hours. That is not just checking your phone. That is hours of micro-actions, tiny decisions. Swipe, tap, swipe, tap. Each one is a trigger. Each one feeds the loop. Your brain starts to expect that rhythm. It begins to crave it, but the cost is quiet and slow. You start to lose track of time. You start to feel more distracted. Your attention begins to break into smaller and smaller pieces. You sit down to read, but your mind drifts. You try to sleep, but your thoughts spin. Your phone becomes a magnet, always nearby, always pulling. You do not plan to spend so long on it. You just fall into it. That is what makes infinite scroll so dangerous. It is frictionless. There is nothing to push against. No pause. No warning. No moment to ask, do I want to keep going? You just go. This is design. App makers work hard to remove friction. They test different ways to keep you on the screen. They know that the longer you stay, the more ads you see. The more ads you see, the more they earn. Your attention becomes profit. And the easiest way to keep your attention is to remove the things that make you stop and think. Endless feeds, autoplay videos, swipe to refresh. These are not features, they are traps. Smart traps, beautiful traps, but still traps. The brain does not stand a chance when it is tired, when it is bored, when it is stressed. In those moments, it reaches for comfort, for escape, for ease, and nothing is easier than a feed that never ends. This does not mean you are broken. It means the system is built to overpower you. Even adults with strong focus feel it. Teenagers feel it more. Children even more. Still, they are growing up in a world with no pause button. A study from a major university followed teens for 6 months. Those who used infinite scroll platforms for more than 2 hours per day reported higher levels of anxiety, lower sleep quality, and more trouble concentrating in school. The scroll had become not just a habit, but a trap. One girl in the study said she would open her app to check one thing, then look up and realize an hour had passed. She said it felt like her time was slipping through her fingers. That is the real cost. It is not just hours lost. It is attention lost, presence lost, time you did not choose to give. So what can you do? You start by noticing. You start by naming the loop. You start by catching the moment when your thumb moves without you. And then you pause, even for just a breath. You say, do I want this? Or is it pulling me? You will not win every time. No one does, but the pause is power. You can create your own stopping points. Turn off autoplay. Use a timer. Put your phone down when the day ends. Make friction your friend, because your brain still knows how to rest, how to reset, how to stop. It just needs a little help. The infinite scroll wants your time, your attention, your energy. But those things belong to you, and once you remember that, you can take them back. You are standing in line, or maybe lying in bed, or sitting alone for just a moment. You reach for your phone. You are not even sure why. You open the app. A message appears. Or maybe it doesn't. A like, a comment, a video, a story. It could be anything. It could be nothing. But you check anyway. And the reason you check again and again is simple. It is not just habit. It is hope. Hope that this time there will be something new, something exciting, something just for you. That hope is the hook. And behind it is something deeper. It is called variable rewards. The human brain loves reward. It is wired for it. That is how we survived for thousands of years. We learned to keep going after the things that gave us food or warmth or safety. When we got something good, our brain said, "Do that again." But here is the twist. We do not just chase rewards, we chase unexpected rewards, and those are far more powerful. This has been tested for decades, in labs, with animals, with people. The results are always the same. When a reward is random, the brain gets more excited. It pays more attention. It locks in. Researchers call this intermittent reinforcement. It is the same trick used by slot machines. You pull the lever. Maybe you win, maybe you lose. You never know. That tiny chance keeps you playing. That tiny chance makes you believe the next time might be it. Now that same system sits in your pocket. Every time you check your phone, you are pulling a lever. You are hoping. You are guessing, and your brain is lighting up. This is not magic. It is science, and app makers know exactly how it works. They design for it. They plan for it. They test which rewards keep you coming back, and they have found 3 that work best. The first is social rewards. These are the likes, the comments, the new followers, the little hearts, the short messages. They are small, but they matter. They tell you someone saw you, noticed you, liked what you posted. It feels good, but it also feels uncertain. Sometimes your post gets 10 likes. Sometimes none. Sometimes someone replies right away. Sometimes no one does. That unpredictability makes it more addictive. You do not just want to connect. You want to be seen. And you want to be seen now. You keep checking, just in case something new appears. And when it does, your brain gives you a hit of dopamine. Then it starts all over again. The second kind of reward is self-reward. This is the feeling of progress. Even when it is fake, apps give you points, badges, levels, streaks, achievements. They make you feel like you are moving forward. You answered questions. You posted 3 days in a row. You got a new rank. It feels like success. It feels like effort. But often, it is an illusion. The goal keeps shifting. The reward keeps changing. There is always a new badge, a higher level. You never quite finish. So you keep going. Your brain treats this like a game. And it loves to win, even when the prize means nothing, even when it is just pixels on a screen. The third kind of reward is tribal reward. This is the feeling of belonging. When someone follows you, when someone shares your post, when you join a group or get invited into a chat, it feels like you are part of something. It feels like connection, but often it is not. Many people find that the more time they spend chasing online connection, the lonelier they feel. They get the reward, but it is not real. They see people, but they do not feel seen. They talk to people, but they do not feel close. This is the danger of tribal reward. It gives the feeling of community without the strength of real relationships, but the brain still chases it, still wants more, because sometimes it works. Sometimes it feels good, and that maybe is enough to try again. That is how variable rewards work. They are not about giving you something every time. They are about giving you something sometimes. The maybe keeps you hooked. The maybe keeps you guessing. It is the same system that keeps people at slot machines for hours. And now it is used to keep you in apps for hours too. Your brain gets trained. You start to feel the itch. You check your phone without meaning to. You scroll for no reason. You open and close apps in a loop. You are not looking for anything in particular. You are just looking for the next hit. Because the last one felt good, or at least it might have. The uncertainty is what drives it. You never know what is coming next. And your brain loves to solve puzzles, to finish patterns, to complete stories. But apps do not let you complete anything. They are always updating, always refreshing, always serving new content. This keeps your brain in a state of tension, of hope, of hunger. You do not feel full, you feel close. Close to something exciting. Close to something new. Close to the thing that might finally be worth it, but it rarely comes. So you check again, and again, and again. It does not feel like addiction. It feels like curiosity, but your brain does not care what you call it. It just wants the next hit. Over time, this changes how your mind works. It becomes harder to wait for rewards, harder to focus on slow things, harder to enjoy quiet moments. The fast rewards train your brain to expect more, to want more, and to stop only when the battery dies. This is not your fault. This is how the system was designed. The engineers who built these apps studied human behavior. They learned from casinos, from psychology labs, from decades of brain science. They built tools that look fun, but act like traps, and those traps are wrapped in colors and sounds and stories you want to believe. It is hard to step away, but it is not impossible. The first step is noticing. Noticing that you are being pulled. Noticing that the rewards are not always real. Noticing that your time is worth more. You can still enjoy the good parts, the funny videos, the kind messages, the connection that does sometimes feel true. But you do not have to fall for every maybe. You can take a breath before you open the app. You can pause before you swipe. You can ask, what am I looking for? And is this the place I will find it? Sometimes the answer is yes. Often it is not. But just by asking, you change the story. You take back a little control because your brain is powerful. It learns quickly. It can unlearn too. Variable rewards do not have to run your life. Once you see them, you can stop chasing and start choosing. You post a picture, you wait, maybe it is a photo of your face, or your food, or your dog. Maybe it is something funny or something deep. You do not just want to share it, you want it to be seen. You want someone to notice. You want someone to say, you matter, and when the first like appears, it feels good. But then you check again, and again, and again. That feeling, the one that makes you keep checking, is not random. It is not just curiosity. It is something deeper, something ancient, something powerful. It is the need to belong. Every human has it. From the moment we are born, we look for connection. We listen for voices. We reach for touch. We watch for signs that we are accepted. This is not a weakness. It is survival. Long ago, if you were left out of the group, you were in danger. You could not live alone. You needed others. You needed their protection, their food, their help. Being accepted was not a want. It was a need, and even now, in a world full of noise and light and technology, that need has not changed, but the way we meet that need has. Instead of smiles, we now look for hearts. Instead of hugs, we now wait for likes, and our brains do not know the difference. Inside your head, there are systems that light up when you get social approval. When someone smiles at you, when someone says your name in a kind way, when someone includes you, that same system lights up when someone likes your photo. It is the same part of the brain, the same chemical reward, the same rush of dopamine. It feels small, but it adds up. You post something, and your brain prepares for praise. If the likes come fast, your brain rewards you. If they come slowly, your brain feels confused. If they do not come at all, your brain feels pain, not sadness, not disappointment. Pain. This has been tested in labs. Researchers found that social rejection activates the same part of the brain as physical pain. That sting you feel when your post is ignored is not just in your head, it is real. And that pain makes you change. You start to think differently. Maybe I should post something else. Maybe I should be funnier, prettier, louder, smaller. You start to shape yourself for approval. You start to measure your worth in clicks and hearts. And the worst part is that the whole system is designed this way. The apps know what you want. They know what your brain is looking for, and they give it to you. But only a little at a time. They space out the likes, they show them in bursts, they send them late so you keep checking. They show you who liked what, when, and how many. It is not just feedback, it is a loop. You post, you wait, you get praise or you do not. You feel good or you do not. Then you post again. The loop gets stronger every time, and for many people, it becomes part of daily life. Especially for teenagers. Teenagers are in a stage where identity is forming. They are trying to figure out who they are, what they believe, where they fit. They are looking for mirrors, and social media offers them 1,000. But those mirrors are not honest. They show them what is popular, what gets liked, what gets followed, not what is true. So teenagers learn to perform. They learn to post what gets the most attention. They delete photos that do not get enough likes. They measure their self-worth by numbers on a screen, and when the numbers are low, they feel low too. This is not just emotional, it is chemical. Their brains are growing fast. Their reward systems are especially sensitive. This means the highs are higher and the lows are lower. When they get likes, they feel real joy. When they do not, they feel real fear. Fear of being left out. Fear of being invisible, and that fear changes how they think, how they act, how they see themselves. Some say it is just social pressure, but it is more than that. It is addiction. Not to the phone, but to the feeling of being approved. This is why it is so hard to stop. Even when they want to take a break, even when they know it is not healthy, they still go back. Because the approval drug is always waiting, and the app knows exactly how to deliver it. It knows when to send a notification. It knows which photos get more likes. It knows which comments make you feel seen. It knows when to pull you back in. This is not accidental. It is designed. Every feature is built to trigger the loop. Feedback is not instant. It is delayed to keep you hooked. Likes are not just counts. They are currency. The more you get, the more value you feel, and the more you value the app that gives it to you. But what happens when the likes stop? What happens when the crowd moves on? What happens when you need more and more attention just to feel the same? You begin to feel empty. You begin to chase something that is not real. You begin to lose touch with your own voice, and slowly you forget who you were before the hearts. This does not mean social media is bad. It means it is powerful, and when used without care, it can reshape how you see yourself. The girl who used to write poetry stops posting because no one read her last one. The boy who loved nature starts posting selfies because that is what gets attention. The young person who once felt confident now checks their phone to know if they matter. This is the cost. Not just time, but identity. And recovery is not about quitting everything. It is about remembering that your worth is not up for vote, that likes are not love, that hearts do not speak truth. You can still share, still post, still connect, but not to chase approval, not to feel real because you already are. The moment you stop chasing the drug of validation is the moment you begin to feel free, and that freedom is worth everything. You are lying in bed. The day is done. Your body is tired, but your mind is not. So you check your phone. Just one more time. You scroll through photos, videos, updates, stories. They are full of smiling faces and glowing lights. Parties, trips, friends, together. You are not in any of them. And something tightens in your chest. It is not jealousy. It is not sadness. It is fear. Fear that you are being left behind. Fear that life is happening without you. Fear that the best moments are going on somewhere else. Without you in the frame, that feeling has a name. FOMO, fear of missing out. It sounds small, like a passing thought, but it is not small. It is heavy. It is sharp. And it sits deep in your brain. It is also something that the world around you now feeds on. Apps were not always built this way. In the beginning, they were tools. Things to help you find directions. Talk to friends. Share ideas. But over time, something changed. These apps began to fight for your attention, because attention became money. The longer you stay, the more you see. The more you see, the more you click. The more you click, the more ads you watch. So the goal became simple. Keep you looking, keep you coming back, keep you needing more. And FOMO became the perfect engine. It runs quietly, but it runs fast. The people who build apps know exactly how to turn it on. They create urgency. Not real urgency. Fake urgency. Manufactured urgency. A new post disappears in 24 hours. A friend went live 3 minutes ago. A chat has unread messages. A limited time offer ends in an hour. If you do not check now, you might miss it. This now or never feeling triggers something old inside your brain. It tells you danger. Not because a missed story is a real threat, but because your brain still works like it did thousands of years ago. Back then, missing out could mean something serious. You could miss a chance to eat, or to find shelter, or to stay close to your group. So your brain learned to watch, to react, to stay alert. Today, apps use that instinct against you. They make you feel like the moment is important, even when it is not. They use red badges, flashing numbers, little bubbles. Red is not a random choice. It signals urgency. It raises your heart rate. It makes you feel like something needs your attention, but most of the time it doesn't. You open the app, the red dot disappears, and what was waiting was nothing. Just a like, or a comment, or a headline, but for your brain, the pattern is already set. Notification, tension, relief. You do not open the app because you want to. You open it to stop the feeling. This is how anxiety gets tied to technology. You start the day by checking. You check in between moments. You check before bed. You check even when you do not want to. just to silence the feeling of being left out. And the strange thing is that while you are checking to feel less alone, you often feel more alone than ever. Because what you see on the screen is not real life. It is the highlight reel. People only post what looks good, what sounds good, what makes their life seem full and exciting. They do not post the quiet days, the lonely days, the days when nothing happens, but when you scroll through your feed, you forget that. You see everyone smiling, and you wonder why you are not. You see someone at a beach, someone at a concert, someone in love, and you feel like your own life is behind. That illusion creates pain, and not just emotional pain. Real, physical pain. Scientists have studied FOMO and the parts of the brain it activates. One of those parts is the anterior cingulate cortex, the same area that processes physical pain, the pain of a broken bone, a burned hand, a cut. The brain treats social exclusion like injury, and when you feel left out, it hurts. That hurt makes you check more, you want the pain to stop. So you look for proof that you are still connected, you post something, you wait for likes, you send a message, you watch stories, you hope someone sees you. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they do not, but the fear stays. The more time you spend trying to stay in the loop, the more drained you feel. And yet you cannot stop. Because your brain thinks this is survival. You are not chasing fun. You are avoiding loss. Loss of status. Loss of attention. Loss of place. This is why FOMO can lead to anxiety, to stress, to depression. You feel like you are running a race that never ends. You feel like you are always behind. Especially if you are young. Teenagers and young adults feel this more than anyone. Their brains are still developing. Their sense of self is still forming. They rely more on peers for identity. They care more about what others think. This is normal. But when that process moves online, it gets harder because now they are comparing themselves to everyone all the time. They are watching people live perfect lives in small square photos, and they are trying to keep up. Some start posting more, some stop posting at all, some feel proud, some feel invisible. All of them are affected, even if they never say it out loud. There are stories of teens who wake up in the middle of the night to check stories, who feel sick when they lose followers, who measure their self-worth by views. This is not drama. This is what FOMO does. It creates a constant low-level fear, a hum beneath the surface, a voice that whispers, "You are missing something. You are not enough." Even when everything is okay, you feel like it is not, but it does not have to stay this way. The first step is seeing it, naming it, knowing that this fear is not truth. It is a trick. It is a signal from a brain that is trying to protect you in a world it does not understand. You can slow it down. You can turn off some notifications. You can give yourself time to be offline. You can remind yourself that no one shares everything, that behind every perfect post is a normal life, that not being everywhere does not mean you are missing your life. In fact, sometimes the best parts of life happen when you are not looking at a screen, when you are present, when you are real, when you are not chasing something you cannot see. FOMO is loud, but you can be louder with choice, with care, with quiet. You download an app. It is free. You use it every day. You check it without thinking. You scroll. You tap. You smile. Sometimes you feel good. Sometimes you feel drained. But you keep coming back. It feels like a normal part of your life. You never paid for it. You never signed a contract. It feels like a gift, but It is not free. You are paying, just not with money. You are paying with your attention, and your attention has become one of the most valuable things on earth. This is the world we live in now. It is called the attention economy. In the past, companies wanted your money. Today, they want your time. Not just a little of it, all of it, every moment they can get, every glance, every second of focus, because time leads to data. Data leads to power, and power leads to profit. This is how free apps make billions of dollars. They do not sell you a product, they sell you not your name, not your face, but your habits, your likes, your fears, your time. The more time you spend on the app, the more data they gather. The more data they gather, the more they understand you. What you look at, what you click, what makes you pause, what makes you angry, what makes you come back. All of that gets tracked. Every scroll, every swipe, every video you watch until the end, it all becomes part of your digital profile. This profile is not just about what you like, it is about how your brain works, what pulls you in, what keeps you engaged. The apps then use this profile to show you things you are most likely to react to. Not things that make you happy, not things that help you grow, but things that make you stay. They are not measuring joy, they are measuring time on device. That is the real currency. The longer you stay, the more ads you see. The more ads you see, the more money the app makes. It is a simple model. But behind that simplicity is something more dangerous, because keeping you on the app is not about giving you value. It is about using every tool available to hold your attention, even if it hurts you. That is where dark patterns come in. Dark patterns are tricks hidden in design. They are not illegal, but they are manipulative. They make it harder to leave, harder to say no, harder to think clearly. Maybe you have tried to delete an account, and the app makes you feel guilty. It shows you sad faces. It says your friends will miss you. Maybe you have opened a notification that looks urgent, but it is not. It was just bait. Maybe you have tried to take a break, but the app reminds you of what you are missing. A message, a story, a chance to be seen. All of this is on purpose. The designers study psychology. They know how your brain reacts to pressure, to color, to noise, to reward. They build systems that use this knowledge to keep you locked in. These systems are invisible, but they are powerful. One of them is the infinite scroll. It removes the bottom of the page so you never find a stopping point. Another is autoplay. It makes the next video start before your brain has time to decide. Another is streaks. They reward you for not taking a break. Every one of these features has one goal: keep you there. You are not choosing to stay, you are being kept. And the apps learn as they go. They run tests. They change one word, one color, one icon. They see what works better, which button gets more clicks, which message makes you tap faster. Then they update the app for everyone. They are always learning. And what they are learning is you. They know how long you pause on a sad story. They know how fast you scroll past something boring. They know what time you usually pick up your phone. In some cases, they know more about you than you do, because you forget what you watched last week. They do not. You forget how often you check your phone. They track every single time. This level of knowledge gives them power. They can predict what you will do next. They can shape what you think about. They can influence what you believe. This is not science fiction. It is happening now. It is happening quietly, and most people do not see it because the apps feel fun. They feel harmless, but when your attention is being bought and sold, you are no longer the customer, you are the product. Advertisers are the customers. Brands pay to reach you. to speak to you, to catch your eye. And the app's job is to make sure your eye is still there. Your attention becomes a battlefield. Everyone wants it, everyone fights for it, and you are caught in the middle. You may think you are using the app, but often it is using you. Even when you close the app, it stays in your mind. You think about what you saw, what you missed, what you want to check next. This is not an accident, this is design. And the more you know about it, the more power you have. Because once you see the system, you can step outside of it. You can choose when to check. You can decide what gets your attention. You can value your time again. Because your time is not free. Your focus is not cheap. And your attention should not be given away to whoever shouts the loudest. It should be yours to give, to guard, to protect. You open an app, you see a number. Maybe it is a streak, or a point total, or a badge you just earned. A message pops up. Congratulations. You did it. You smile. It feels small, but it feels good. You want to see the number go higher. You want the badge to change colors. You want to unlock the next thing. You do not know what it is yet, but you want it anyway. This is not random, this is design. Many apps today borrow something powerful, something tested, something sticky. They borrow from games, not the kind you play with a controller, but the kind that keep you hooked without needing much effort. Games have always been good at holding attention. They are built to challenge you just enough, not too hard, not too easy. They give you rewards, but not all at once. They let you level up, earn points, reach new heights, but they never let you finish too quickly. They always show you the next step, and now apps are doing the same thing. They add game-like features to keep you coming back. You see it everywhere. Points for walking, stars for studying, badges for watching, crowns for checking in, streaks for showing up every day. These things look simple. They do not mean much on paper, but in your brain, they matter. Because your brain loves progress. It loves when things move forward, even a little. Even if the progress is not real. Your brain does not care if the point system is made up. It only cares that something increased, that you are doing better than you were before. This is called goal gradient theory. The closer you feel to a goal, the harder you try. Even if the goal was invented, this is why fake achievements still feel real. They give your brain the illusion of purpose. Apps use this to keep you engaged. They give you levels to climb. Even if the levels do not lead anywhere, they give you streaks to protect. Even if the streak has no reward, they give you progress bars that fill slowly. Even if the bar resets the next day. All of this taps into something ancient. We were made to chase, to collect, to finish. In the wild, these instincts helped us survive, find food, build shelter, stay alive. Now they make us open an app 20 times a day, but it does not stop there. Many apps also add one more thing. They add friends or followers or a leaderboard or a shared challenge, and that changes everything. Now you are not just trying to beat the app, you are trying to beat each other. You are racing your friends, comparing stats, counting streaks. You are measuring your progress not just against your own past, but against someone else's. And when they pull ahead, you feel behind. Even if the race is fake, even if none of it matters, that feeling of falling behind is powerful. It makes you try harder, stay longer, care more than you want to. This is where obsession starts. What used to be fun becomes a job. You have to keep the streak alive. You have to stay on top. You have to prove you are doing better. This happens quietly. A kid who once just liked learning now checks an app at midnight to keep a streak going. A teen who enjoyed walking now walks in circles at night to reach a goal. A worker who only wanted to focus now checks in every hour to avoid losing a badge. These are not just stories, they are real examples, and they show how game mechanics can change how people live. Even when the game is not real, even when the rewards are digital, even when no one is watching. One of the strongest tricks in these apps is visibility. They make your progress visible. You see numbers, graphs, trophies. Your brain responds. It says, "Look how far you have come." Then it asks, "What is next?" That next step is always just out of reach. There is always a higher level, a faster time, a bigger reward. Apps make sure of that. They never let you feel done, because if you feel done, you might stop. So they stretch the finish line. They keep the goal moving. This is what makes things addictive. Not the reward, but the promise of one more badge, one more point, one more day added to the streak. The loop never ends, and the longer you stay in it, the harder it is to see clearly. You forget why you started. You lose sight of what matters. You just keep going, because the system is built to pull you forward, even if it does not lead anywhere. This is not about willpower, it is about design. The people who build these features know how the brain works. They study motivation. They understand reward schedules. They know how to shape behavior without force. They do not force you to open the app. They just make it harder to stop. That is the genius and the danger. So what can you do? You start by noticing. You ask why this reward feels so good. You ask what you are really gaining. You ask who is setting the goal. Sometimes the answer will surprise you. Sometimes the answer will wake you up. You can still enjoy progress. You can still play. But on your terms, not theirs. Not every badge is worth chasing. Not every point means progress. Sometimes real life is enough. You do not need a streak to be consistent. You do not need a leaderboard to grow. You are more than a number. You pick up your phone, you open an app, you start to scroll, you think you are in control, you think you are just passing time, but something else is happening, something underneath, something you cannot see. Behind that screen is a system. It is not a person. It is not a room full of people. It is an invisible machine. It watches you, learns from you, then it shapes your world. That machine is called the algorithm. It is quiet, but it is powerful. It remembers everything you do, how long you pause, what you click, what you ignore, what makes you laugh, what makes you angry, what makes you stay. It takes all of that. Then it makes predictions. It tries to guess what you will want next. And it is usually right, not because it is magic, because it is trained. This is artificial intelligence, not the kind from movies, not robots walking around. This kind of AI lives in your apps, your feeds, your suggestions. It is built to learn from you and then feed you what keeps you coming back. At first, it might seem helpful. It shows you videos you enjoy, music you like, people who agree with you, but over time, the machine learns more than you expect. It starts to see your patterns. It sees what you search late at night. It sees what you rewatch. It sees what you hesitate to look at, but do anyway. It does not just know what you like, it knows what makes you feel. That is the secret, because emotion is the hook. If a post makes you feel something strong, you are more likely to stay. It could be joy, but more often it is fear or sadness or rage. And And the algorithm learns that, so it shows you more. Not because it wants to hurt you, because it wants your attention. And emotion is the shortest path to attention. This is why your feed starts to feel darker. You see news that makes you angry. You see posts that make you anxious. You see people arguing. Stories about disaster. Videos that upset you, and you do not look away. Because part of you wants to understand. Part of you cannot resist. The machine sees this. It takes note. Then it gives you more of the same. This is how your world begins to shift. Slowly, quietly. You think you are exploring, but the walls are closing in. This is the feedback loop. You react. The machine learns. It sends more. You react again. The loop gets stronger. Your world starts to shrink. You stop seeing things that challenge you. You stop seeing people who think differently. You stop seeing calm moments because the algorithm has learned what gets a reaction. It feeds you more of that. It does not care what is true, what is healthy, what is kind. It only cares what works, and what works is often what hurts. This is not by mistake. This is design. Companies want you to stay on their app. The algorithm is their tool to keep you there, and the tool works best when it makes you feel something strong, so it finds your weak spots. Maybe you are insecure about how you look. It will show you perfect bodies. Maybe you are scared about the future. It will show you bad news. More than you need. Maybe you are lonely. It will show you people who seem like they are never alone. It does not try to help. It only tries to hold you. Over time, this affects your mind. You feel more anxious, more angry, more hopeless. You start to believe the world is worse than it is, because the only world you see is the one the machine gives you, and it is not balanced. It is not fair. It is not honest. It is only optimized for time, for clicks, for you staying locked in. Some researchers call this algorithmic bias. It means the machine starts to show you only one kind of thing. You may not notice at first, but the longer you stay, the more extreme your feed becomes. If you like one video about a diet, soon you see content about starvation. If you like one video about crime, soon you see fear all around you. If you like one video about politics, soon you see only one side. The machine does not understand truth. It only understands patterns. This is why people can fall down rabbit holes. They click on one video, then another. Then they are in a space that feels completely different, more intense, more emotional, more extreme, and they think they got there on their own, but they didn't. They were guided step by step by a machine that knows what keeps them scrolling. This is the danger. The algorithm is not evil, but it is not wise. It is not curious. It does not care about growth or health or peace. It only cares what works. And what works is what triggers you. You are not weak for falling into it. You are human. The machine was built to understand your most human parts, and now it knows them better than you do. It knows what to show you when you are tired, when you are scared, when you feel alone. And once it has your attention, it does not want to let go. Some people have started to notice. They feel drained after using social media. They feel anxious for no clear reason. They feel like their world is too loud, too angry, too sad. They start to question, why do I keep seeing this? Why do I feel worse every time I check? And those questions are the beginning. Because once you see the pattern, you can break it, you can take back your feed, You can pause when something upsets you. You can search for things outside the loop. You can add variety on purpose. You can choose what you want to feel, not just what the machine wants to show. It is not easy, but it is possible. The algorithm will keep learning, but so can you. You can learn to notice. You can learn to question. You can learn to protect your mind, because your time matters. Your peace matters, and your thoughts should belong to you, not to the machine. You wake up in the middle of the night. Your room is quiet, dark, safe. But your hand reaches out, not for water, not for light, for your phone. You do not think about it. You just check. The screen lights up. A message, a like, a story, something small, but it feels like something important. You scroll for a minute, then for 5, then you try to fall asleep again. But now your brain is wide awake. This is not just habit. This is addiction, not to the device itself, but to what it brings. The noise, the attention, the endless newness. And over time, this addiction steals more than you notice. It steals slowly, it steals quietly. It takes away things you thought were safe. It begins with your attention. Once, you could read a book. Now you read a sentence, then check your phone. Once you could sit through a meal, now you glance down between bites. Once, you could finish a thought. Now your thoughts break into pieces. This is what happens when your brain gets used to interruption, when you train it to expect something new every few seconds. It loses the ability to go deep, to focus, to think clearly. Scientists have studied this. They asked people to do hard tasks. Half had their phones nearby, half did not. The ones with phones close by did worse, even if the phones were silent, even if they were face down. Just the presence of the phone was enough to pull at the mind, because the mind remembered what the phone could offer, and it could not fully let go. This kind of shallow attention makes everything harder. Work feels scattered, conversations feel shorter, time feels faster, but less full. It affects your relationships too. You are with someone, a friend, a partner, a child. You listen. Then you look down. Just for a second. But the moment breaks and that second becomes a signal. You are not fully here. You are somewhere else. Again and again. You may not mean to pull away, but you do, and the people around you feel it. They start to look at their own phones, or they stop talking as much, or they stop expecting your full presence, and slowly something real starts to fade. This is how closeness disappears. Not in big fights, but in tiny cracks, phone in hand, eyes on screen. Connection lost. Addiction also steals your sleep. You stay up later, you fall asleep slower. You wake up more often because the light from the screen tells your brain it is still daytime. Because the information keeps your thoughts spinning. Because the habit is stronger than the need to rest. Sleep is not just rest, it is how your brain heals, how your memory forms, how your mood resets. Without it, everything begins to unravel. You feel tired, then irritable, then low, then numb. You cannot think clearly. You cannot care deeply. You feel out of balance, and you do not always know why. You just know something feels off. Sleep loss builds up like a debt, and phones keep you in that debt, because they always promise something new, something better. Right now, not later. The addiction creates another hidden cost too. Tolerance. At first, a few minutes on an app feels good. Then you need 10, then 30, then an hour. Your brain gets used to the rush, and like any drug, it begins to need more to feel the same effect. That is how you fall into the loop, not because you enjoy it, but because doing less feels worse. You feel withdrawal, restlessness, boredom, a sharp need to check, just to feel normal. This has been measured. In studies, when people are asked to go without their phones for a day, many report real symptoms: sweating, nervousness, mood swings. Some even report phantom vibrations. They think they feel a notification, but nothing is there. This is how deep the addiction runs, and it is not just adults. Teens and kids feel it too. In fact, they feel it more. Their brains are still growing, still wiring themselves for life, but the apps reach in early and start to shape those wires. This is why researchers are raising alarms. Study after study shows the same thing. The more time young people spend on apps, especially social media, the more likely they are to feel anxious. The more likely they are to feel depressed, to feel alone, to feel not enough. One large study followed thousands of teens over many years. The ones who used social media the most had the highest levels of reported sadness, the highest levels of hopelessness, and the lowest self-worth. It was not just about the time spent. It was about what they were trading it for. Sleep, movement, real conversations, peace, all replaced by a screen. The numbers are rising, not just in studies, in emergency rooms, in schools, in homes. More young people report mental health struggles than ever before. And the link to digital addiction is clear. It is not just correlation, it is causation. You can feel it in your own life too. You check your phone in the middle of a laugh. You pick it up while watching a sunset. You feel a wave of guilt, but you still scroll. This is the real cost, not money, but moments, energy, focus, joy, the quiet, gentle things that make life feel full, and the cost keeps growing until you notice, until you pause, until you begin to ask what you are losing and whether it is worth it. Some people have started to ask. They put down their phones for a few hours each day. They take walks without earbuds. They leave the device outside the bedroom. They feel strange at first, like something is missing, then they feel something new. A kind of return to stillness, to depth, to presence. It does not fix everything, but it starts to restore what was lost. It reminds them that their attention is a gift, that their time is not something to give away lightly, that their mind deserves peace. You can try this too, even in small ways. You can notice the first urge to check. You can sit with it instead of acting on it. You can find joy in something quiet. You can reclaim 1 hour, then maybe 2, then maybe more, because the addiction is real, but so is your power to choose, to remember, to live with your eyes open. Not just your screen. It started with silence, the kind of silence that lives in bright offices and clean labs, the kind where people build things quietly, code lines, test features, optimize clicks. At first, it feels like invention, like progress, like making something useful for the world. But then something changes. A former engineer at a major tech company once said he felt proud in the beginning. He helped design tools that millions of people used every day. He believed in connection, in making life easier. He never thought about harm, until he did. His name is Tristan Harris. He worked at Google. He saw how smart the teams were, how carefully they designed each part of the experience, not just to serve the user, but to hold their attention. He started to notice how much of the design focused on keeping people inside the product, not for 5 minutes, but for hours. Every tap mattered, every scroll was tracked, every pause on a photo was a data point. It was not about helping people, it was about keeping them hooked. Tristan wrote a memo. He sent it to others inside the company. He asked questions no one wanted to ask. What if we are doing harm? What if this is not helping people? What if we are shaping behavior in ways we do not fully understand? The memo was read, but not much changed, so he left. He began to speak publicly. He talked about how products are designed to capture the brain, how small choices in color and feedback and timing can lock people into loops they cannot see. He called it human downgrading. He was not the only one. Others followed, former employees from Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. They began to say the same thing. We built these systems. We knew how they worked, we knew they could be addictive, and we kept building them anyway. Some of them shared why they left. Others stayed anonymous. They feared losing jobs, losing friends. But the message was clear. This was not a glitch. This was the plan. One designer from a major social app said he was told to make the experience feel sticky. His job was to test which features made users stay longer. He found that variable rewards worked best. Unpredictable likes, changing content, notifications that appeared just late enough to feel urgent. He added those features, then he stopped sleeping well. He noticed how much time his own friends spent on the product he built. They looked tired, scattered, not happier, just busy. He asked himself if this was progress. He could not say yes, so he left. Some insiders revealed something even deeper: internal research, documents, studies done inside the companies themselves. Facebook once studied teenage girls. They found that Instagram made many of them feel worse about their bodies. The platform amplified anxiety, made people feel like they were not enough, not pretty enough, not happy enough. This was not a rumor, it was written in their own reports. And still, the product did not change. When this was leaked, Facebook denied it. They said the findings were taken out of context. They said social media also brings connection, support, joy, but the whistleblowers were not quiet. They said the harm was real. They said the leadership knew. They said profits came first. This has happened again and again. Insiders speak. Companies deny. Laws are suggested, but few pass. Because the tech industry is powerful, they hire the best lawyers. They spend millions lobbying lawmakers. They argue that their products are tools. They say what people do with them is not their responsibility. They promise to improve, to add safety settings, to let users set limits. But the system stays the same. Addiction still makes money. Time on device is still the goal. Every second you spend scrolling is a second they can sell. So the battle continues, not just in courtrooms, but in conversations. More and more former tech workers are choosing to speak out. They are starting non-profits, giving talks, making films. They want people to see what they once ignored, that the attention economy is not just a business model, it is a public health issue. Some of them say they wish they could go back and do it differently. They wish they asked more questions. They wish they said no. They say they never meant to hurt anyone. But meaning is not enough. Impact matters more. And the impact is clear. More children with sleep problems. More teens with anxiety. More adults who cannot focus. More families staring at screens instead of each other. All of it built in part by people who now say they wish they hadn't, and perhaps the most telling part is this. Many of them do not let their own children use the apps they helped build. Tristan Harris has said this. So has Tim Kendall, former president of Pinterest. So have leaders at Facebook and Google. They send their children to schools with no screens. They limit devices at home. They say children should not be exposed to these tools until they are old enough to understand how they work. This says everything. If the people who built these systems do not trust them with their own kids, why should we trust them with ours? The movement is growing, but it is still small. The tech world moves fast. Money moves faster. The truth moves slowly, but it is moving. More people are paying attention. More parents are asking questions. More teens are speaking out. They are tired of feeling addicted, tired of feeling alone in a crowd of apps, tired of chasing a feeling that never lasts. The whistleblowers gave them language. Now the rest of us must give them support. We cannot undo the past, but we can choose what we do next. We can listen to the ones who were inside. We can believe them when they say, "This was not a mistake." We can believe them when they say it can be different. And we can begin to demand that difference, because awareness is not enough. Change is not easy, but it begins with truth. And the truth is this: the system was built to take more than it gives, and now it is time to take some of it back. You are not lazy, you are not weak, you are not broken. If you have ever told yourself that you should be stronger, that you should just stop scrolling, that you should just put the phone down and focus, hear this first. It is not just you. The problem is not only in your habits, the problem is in the system. The system is designed to win. Apps are built by people who study human behavior. They know what makes you pause, what makes you click, what makes you come back. They do not guess. They test. They measure. They refine. They make every tap feel like your idea, but it is not your idea. That is why willpower is not enough. You can want to stop. You can feel the damage. You can make a promise, but then your phone buzzes or glows or sits silently in your pocket waiting, and somehow your hand moves without you. This is not weakness, it is conditioning, but there is a way out, and it starts not with willpower. It starts with design. Not the design of the apps, the design of your life. The first step is to make small changes that break the loop. You do not need to delete everything. You need to create friction. Friction is anything that slows you down, anything that gives your thinking brain a chance to speak before your automatic brain takes over. You can start with your settings. Turn off most notifications, especially the ones that do not serve you. Leave only what is essential. No red badges, no glowing alerts. Let silence be your signal. Move apps off your home screen. Make them harder to reach. Put them in folders. Put those folders on the second page. Make yourself swipe. Make yourself search. Turn your screen to grayscale. Take away the color. Make the phone less exciting, less urgent, less like a game. These are not dramatic moves, but they matter. They interrupt the pattern. They give you time. That time is everything, because in that second between impulse and action, you get to decide, do I want to do this, or do I just feel pulled? That moment is a doorway. Use it. Next, look at your environment. Where do you keep your phone when you eat? Where is it when you sleep? What do you reach for when you are bored? If your phone is always within reach, it will always win. So give yourself space. Leave it in another room when you eat. Use an alarm clock instead of your phone at night. Put a book next to your bed, or a journal. Or silence. Let your world be more than a screen. At first, it will feel strange, empty. You might feel anxious. You might feel bored. That is normal. You are not broken. You are healing. Your brain needs time because it has been trained to want easy rewards, fast hits, endless scrolls. It needs to relearn how to wait, how to focus, how to enjoy something slow. So help it create new patterns. Replace, do not just remove. If you take something away, fill the space with something that feels good in a different way. Talk to someone. Without checking your phone, go outside. Without tracking it, make something with your hands, with your mind. Let your body move. Let your breath slow. Let your thoughts wander. Do something with no reward at the end. Let it be enough. That is how you retrain your brain. You show it that satisfaction is still possible, even without likes, even without noise, even without the pull of the feed. This will not happen overnight. You are not pressing a switch. You are growing something, and growth is quiet, slow, sometimes invisible at first, but it is real. Each time you resist the urge to check, each time you close the app early, each time you choose presence over distraction, you are building a new pathway. That path will grow stronger. Soon, your brain will stop needing the same kind of stimulation. It will start to enjoy what is in front of you. But give it time. Give it grace. You are not just changing your behavior, you are reclaiming your mind, your attention, your peace, and it matters. Because this is not just about screen time, this is about how you feel when you wake up, how you sleep, how deeply you can think, how well you connect, how fully you can live. You deserve to feel whole, not pulled, not fractured, not half present. That is what this journey is about. Not quitting technology, but making it serve you. Letting it be a tool, again, not a trap. You can still use apps. You can still enjoy what is good. But now you decide. Now you choose. You are not at war with your phone. You are simply building a better relationship with it. One where you are in control. One where you remember what life feels like when you are fully in it. And if enough people do this, something bigger happens. A shift. The more we demand calm, the more we demand ethics in design, the more we demand tools that protect attention instead of stealing it, the more likely it is that the industry will listen. Because culture moves when people move, and people move when they see clearly. So now you see. The addiction was built, but so was your strength. The path to freedom is not loud, it is quiet, it is small steps, it is awareness, it is choice. It is remembering that your mind belongs to you always.